So welcome to this new video. I want to update what we currently have on BTC because we know that for the past 2 weeks price has been consolidating in this area where obviously also all the volume was built. And then I said at this point that because on the high time frame, let's just look at it from a zoomed out vision, we are in a downtrend. So if we look at the structure, we basically have lower low, lower high. Here you can count it as structure, but basically the same. Low low, and then this is the low, and then from here you start your range. So technically this is your range low, this is your range high, and it's valid when you tap your mid-range right there. So when we first consolidated a long time in the upper part of the range, it was key for price to hold the value area, as mentioned several times. And that was why early this week, when we like last week we swept the low and then broke internal structure back to bullish. Then we came back early this week, like Monday, with this weekly open dump. And that was important that price, it could take liquidity and then push up. But as said in video, the key level was this supply zone to reclaim. And price failed to do that. So all I see is a lot of weakness. Also because if we just look at structure, you can say from this high, your main structure is now something like this. So just first range, but now it looks more like a downtrend. And also if we count it from like this high, you have low, lower high, like lower low, lower high, lower low. So also here we are leaving this local range and we have a local downtrend. So in my opinion, I wanted to see the reaction here. If we showed weakness here, I was interested in shorts. If we flipped this level, then I was interested in longs back to 70k. However, before we even came into that level, price already rejected lower. So that did not give me a local short trigger. But I've also not been interested in longs. And one of the main reasons for that as well is, as I mentioned several times, we lost our volume profile. So we had like, what was it? From there till around, around here till around here, like 15 days of value building, which means that price often goes from value area low to value area high to value area low to value area high until it fails to do that. And then we saw that price here came to the value area low, bounced, rejected from the POC, and then this week we started with that dump. Then yesterday, price came up, rejected from the value area low, came down, retested the range low, and made a new low. So to me, this is like a super clean rejection of the value area, which means price failed to gain acceptance back in the value, which means that the most likely scenario is that we're going to build the volume in the discounted section of the range. So this is our premium section. We now lost that, retested it, rejected. Then until proven otherwise, my main expectation is that we will build value in that lower part of the range. So also for today, I'm not really interested in longs. Like you can try scalp longs, but if we just look at also from like here, the structure clearly is lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So if we just look at 50-minute structure, then that's not even flip bullish until we break above this level. But if we then look what is left behind, because you can think, okay, if we break structure here on the 15, I'm bullish. No, because you have to look what did price leave behind. What I see is we have this supply zone where price came back to the range low and then sold off, creating this range supply. But in between, price did the same as well here. So price moved down, moved up, sell off, leaving behind an imbalance. So you have two supply zones resting above you, like both range supply, which to me is a signal that supply is in control until we start to see signs that supply is failing. So first sign of strength will be to break above this structure line. If get a, what is it? Yeah, it's like 15 minute, only valid on a 15 minute. So get a 15-minute candle body close above that level and you have a 15-minute break of structure. But you have to keep in mind that the high time frames are all bearish. So going max long right here because you have a 15-minute break of structure, is that the wisest decision you can make? In my opinion, not, because directly above it you have this supply POI, above there you have this supply POI. So in my opinion, what is most likely is that you can break 15-minute structure to mitigate the supply here for a lower high, for a lower low. In my opinion, that's more likely, and also in line with trend. We lost the value area, so until proven otherwise, this is the most likely scenario in my opinion. What would change that is, as said, break confidently above your 15-minute, tap into that supply, and then show supply failure. Because the purpose of this supply is to push price lower. If price breaks above that supply, that is a great sign of strength. And then here I will be looking for signs of strength to get into longs. Until then, shorts are for me the more likely outcome until price starts to feel that lower part of the range as mentioned before, which, let me extend the levels a bit, is here. Our ultimate range low is unswept. Here you can see that we have almost no volume. So what I think is that lower highs for lower lows, and that we then here start to potentially accumulate, and then you can start to look for your 1, 2, 3 potential accumulation models. But for now, yeah, I think overall price action is super weak. So yeah, I also made a post today about it, why everyone always wants to catch the low, because that's good for your ego and good for your yeah, you can get a lot of likes by sharing that you longed the bottom here. And but often at this point, exactly at the market structure level, for example, is where you often get your SFP, and then you revisit the low again, and then you're stopped out again. Your ego wants to step in again because you have to be right, and that way you are constantly trying to fight the trend, while it's much easier to just join the trend or wait for your reversal triggers, which would be to show that demand is gaining control. You're tapping into supply. Supply fails to bring you into new lows, and demand is actually being created on these moves. And then when price goes back into those demand zones, you can use that demand to position yourself. So that's what I'm now looking at. Also, we can quickly look at the statistics. So, for example, on the daily, what are our current stats? Yeah, so we have the daily high created at hour 0, which is a strong high, which is also just below the range low. So how I see it is that we had that weekly open dump, price came back for the value area, rejected, made a new low right here, retested the range lows, so, and then made a new low. So in my opinion, this is a bearish retest until proven otherwise. And that's why I also expect lower highs for lower lows until we reclaim back in the range. That will be a sign of strength. But for now, I'm leaning towards lower prices. And we can also see, like based on distance, only 9.1% of the days took out the daily high. So low probability today to reach this high, which also shows that it's likely that we get the lower high for lower low, in my opinion. Then on the weekly, we have that warning sign, like 94% of the weekly P1s have a bigger wick. But yeah, in my opinion, that is not too big of a yeah, warning, because at this point, this is that weekly P1. And to get that reversal, look, it can be possible, but there has to be, I'm not betting on it, because we first need to break our structures, back to bullish, invalidate this supply, and then it's possible. But for now, yeah, I'm not expecting it. And also, if we look at the distance stats, for example, there's that low P1 flip risk, 6.3% of the weeks took out the weekly high. So we have a warning sign, but if we look at the stats, based on timing, 31% took out the weekly high, so that's also low, and 6.3%. So I think that we will keep this wickless weekly candle, or almost wickless candle, on the weekly and take it out later. Doesn't have to happen this week exactly. It can also happen next week or the week after. So that's basically my main bias. So this level here is the 15-minute, but as said, every structure is bearish. So with 4-hour daily, weekly, everything is bearish. So betting on that 15-minute is not enough, obviously. You can look, for example, what is the 2-hour structure, which is also the same as the 1 hour. Then we see that you have here your breakdown, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low. So the more important structure level, like this is the 15-minute. The more important one is this one, which is also located at the former range low and right at the supply zones. So as said, breaking above, invalidating those supply zones, breaking 1 hour, 2 hour, and 3 hour structure back to bullish, and then I'm switching bias to bullish. Until we have that, my main expectation is to see a lower high for lower low. So yeah, I think pretty clean plans. If you have any questions, let me know, and yeah, don't forget to leave a like as always. Further, if you want something, no, like I'm building the next week, the server will go live, so I'm also recording a lot of videos. Introduction, I need to record a lot more, but over time they will all be added, and they're pretty long because when I start talking about stuff I am passionate about, I can stop talking about it. But yeah, soon the link will be shared, and then I hope to see you guys eventually in that server. For now, I wish you all happy trading as always, and see you in the next video.